ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. I am truly delighted, as I always am, to address meetings that you organized to be here with you. I was asked to give an address on how we can navigate through so many crises that we have gone through and are currently going through. I would say that our term has been defined by the crises and solutions that we have found and are continuing to find for them. Because the last few years have been consequential for Europeans. After Brexit and the health crisis, we stood united and we stood firm against Russia's illegal invasion of Ukraine. We are reducing our dependencies on Russian energy. We are addressing climate change and preparing for digital growth. We are standing up for our values. But yet, last week we saw the ugly face of terrorism stick its head up, once again, with the horrendous attacks on innocent Israeli citizens, the murder of over 1,000 people, thousands injured, and close to 100 women, children, and men still held hostage by a fundamentalist terrorist group, Hamas. Only 3 days ago, we saw gas pipelines and data connections damaged by external actors at the bottom of the Baltic Sea between Finland and Estonia. The challenges that the European Union has met, we have faced them head on. They have shaped us, they have united us, and historically, the European Union has pulled out stronger from setbacks, and going forth, it must continue on this path. I would say it has no choice but to do so. We must keep striving to make Europe a place of opportunity, of equality of opportunity, of safety and security, of prosperity, of dignity and jobs, where everyone can reach their full potential without different tiers of access. And that means finding ways forward that matter to a new generation and a new wave of Europeans and European member states. Enlargement is our union's most strong geopolitical tool, especially in this current geostrategic environment. An enlarged EU that is based on clear objectives, criteria, and merit serves as an investment in peace, in security, stability, and prosperity on the European continent. This is a transformative process that can only produce outcomes that benefit everyone. And this is why the European Parliament called very early on for Ukraine and Moldova to receive candidate status. This is why we want now to go to the next step by the end of the year, if these countries meet the requisite conditions. To do this, we must start a genuine EU discussion on what it means when that happens. What do we mean by true and proper reform? What and whether we have what it takes to meet this defining moment for Europe? My answer is a resounding yes. We can be proud of our innovations and successes to date. To spark a post-pandemic economic recovery, we came up with the unprecedented Next Generation EU Fund. To facilitate the green transition, we adopted the revision of the emissions trading system. We helped to shield our households and SMEs further from the impact of the green transition with our social climate fund. We have complemented all this effort with a revised renewable energy directive, and in parallel, we have adopted and adapted our common agriculture policy to new climate targets. In addition to this, we can speak of our determination in getting a Digital Markets Act and a Digital Services Act adopted while preparing groundbreaking legislation on artificial intelligence. And in ensuring this, we make sure that innovation can thrive in Europe whilst keeping a human-centric approach. We get the right balance between embracing change and protecting citizens' rights. We have also advanced in the fields of security and defense, for example, by incentivizing the joint EU procurement of defense products and the EU production of ammunition and missiles in support of Ukraine. This would have been unthinkable, even days before the Russian invasion. And we are still painfully aware that this is not enough, that we need to do even more. So, ladies and gentlemen, we know how important it is to be the source of new, sustainable ideas, to look to the future, like you, Mikolas, Tommy, and Klaus do here at the Martin Center, while reconciling differences and building bridges. We know what it means to seek and build solutions that last. We must do that on migration too. We all agree that we need more resources to address migration challenges. And the package of proposals on the table, legislative proposals, are not perfect, to be clear, but they can deliver on people's expectations without forcing them to retreat to the easy political fringes or extremes. Yes, migration remains one of Europe's most pressing concerns, and election after election, it continues to rank as one of the top preoccupations of European citizens across all member states, invariably. Now we have a way forward that could break the deadlock. Every state in the European Union has a responsibility to deal with migration. Now, this is not something that any state, however, can deal with alone. We need meaningful solidarity between member states, either in terms of relocation or, crucially, in terms of return of those people not eligible for protection in Europe. No state would be able to exonerate itself from responsibility anymore. We also all agree to support all member states struck by natural disasters quickly and effectively, because when citizens in those member states look to Europe the most, we must be ready. And we need continued solidarity here. And that means that when those citizens look to Europe, the answer cannot be that the money has run out. It is for all these reasons that we must discuss making our long-term EU budget fit for purpose. The combined effect of the pandemic, the invasion of Ukraine, and rising interest rates means that our EU budget has been stretched to its limit, I would say beyond its limit. We have been resourceful so far in redeploying existing funds that we are already have made available. However, we must not allow our borrowing costs to eat into or even cut EU programs that benefit our citizens directly. And this is super important for the European Parliament, such as Erasmus or Horizon. And we have a duty to react. Funds are finite, and we must pay back our debt. The European Parliament's proposals for a budget revision takes this very clearly into account. You had Sigfrid Muresan earlier here. I'm sure he filled you in on this. Now, going forward, we will need to put our money where our mouth is when it comes to competitiveness. And that is how we generate real, sustainable economic growth, which is necessary to sustain our ambitions. I will say something now that is at the core of many of us and our policies and the way we do politics. Some of us have known each other for a long time. I'm quote Tono now every day. Our people must be at the heart of our focus. And last week at the European Council in Granada, what I said on behalf of the European Parliament was that Europe is about discovering the political will to overcome seemingly impossible odds and differences, about finding ways forward to improve lives, about solving intergenerational geopolitical issues and changing the course of history. So today, to try to bring all these issues that I put forward together, whether it is on enlargement, whether it is on migration, whether it is on our MFF, we need a dose of that spirit again to navigate through the crises of our time. At this defining moment Europe really should be defined by its ability to step up and to lead. At the same time, we cannot ignore people who are feeling left out. They are struggling to make ends meet. Our fishermen, our farmers are uneasy. Young people face an uncertain future, and failing to address people's fears will only lead to increased polarization. And if we fail to understand that, we will seriously lose ground and put our accomplishments in peril. Now, with the European Parliament elections fast approaching in June next year, the biggest task of all is that of reigniting in our people a sense of collective European purpose. And we need to convince people about Europe and of the merits of doing things together. Take these things for granted. Every day we need to say this pragmatically, with seriousness, and being an alternative voice of those who find easy answers to difficult questions. That is also what one of the architects of Europe's steady unification, Wilfred Martens, believed in. We will be commemorating his passing 10 years ago in the coming days. And at a time when we want more for Europe and from Europe, while navigating through crises, it would be a grave mistake to care even less. We need to fight cyber and disinformation attacks, find ways to bridge social issues that seek to divide rather than unify. But most importantly, we must explain, listen, and then listen even harder to people's genuine concerns. We have a huge responsibility to convince Europeans to continue to believe and to vote for Europe, because Europe matters and can deliver more. Now it is our responsibility, and we will carry that. Thank you.